3 days before the Titanic sank, a crew member found a pair of binoculars locked in a cabinet no one had the key to. The lookouts in the crow's nest had nothing but their bare eyes to scan the darkness. On the night of April 14th, 1912, they spotted the iceberg, 37 seconds too late. But here's what most people don't know. That ship received 6 separate ice warnings from other vessels that day. 6. The captain read them. The officers acknowledged them. One message never even made it to the bridge because the wireless operator was too busy sending passenger telegrams. Over 1,500 people went into the freezing Atlantic that night, not because there was no warning, but because warnings, no matter how clear, mean nothing to those who refuse to act on them. And right now, something is trying to get your attention. You felt it, that unshakable sense that something needs to change, that knot in your stomach when you're alone with your thoughts, that quiet dread that follows you into sleep and greets you before your eyes open. You've been attributing it to stress, to overthinking, to life just being hard. But what if it's none of those things? What if what you're feeling isn't anxiety at all, but the hand of God pressing against your chest, trying to slow you down before you walk into something you won't walk out of? There's a reason the ancient Hebrews feared the silence of God more than his thunder. Because when God stops speaking, it doesn't mean everything is fine. It means the window is closing. It means the season of warning is ending and the season of consequence is about to begin. King Belshazzar learned this the hard way. One night, in the middle of a drunken feast, he watched a disembodied hand appear and write 4 words on the palace wall. Words no one could interpret until Daniel was summoned. The message was simple. You have been weighed on the scales and found wanting. Your kingdom is divided and given to others. That very night, Belshazzar was killed. The kingdom fell. He had years of warnings before that moment. He watched his grandfather, Nebuchadnezzar, lose his mind and live like an animal for 7 years until he acknowledged God's sovereignty. He knew the stories. He saw the evidence. But he thought he was different. He thought he had more time. He thought one more party, one more indulgence, one more night of living on his own terms wouldn't matter. The handwriting on the wall wasn't the first warning. It was the last. And some of you are closer to that wall than you realize. Not because God is cruel, not because he's waiting to catch you in failure, but because he's been whispering and you haven't been listening. He's been closing doors and you've been prying them back open. He's been sending people into your life with words that made you uncomfortable, and you've been cutting them off, scrolling past, tuning out. There's a passage in Hebrews that should stop every one of us cold. It says, "See to it that you do not refuse him who speaks. If they did not escape when they refused him who warned them on earth, how much less will we if we turn away from him who warns from heaven?" The warning itself is the mercy. The discomfort you feel is the grace. The disruption to your plans might be the very thing standing between you and destruction. But mercy has a shelf life when it's met with repeated resistance. Pharaoh discovered this. Each plague that struck Egypt was an invitation to surrender. Each devastation was a doorway to deliverance, not just for Israel, but for Pharaoh himself. God wasn't trying to destroy him. God was trying to reach him. But with every hardening, with every refusal, something inside Pharaoh calcified. Until the text says something terrifying. God hardened Pharaoh's heart, not as an act of cruelty, but as a consequence of pattern. When you repeatedly reject light, eventually the light stops reaching you. Not because it stops shining, but because you've built walls so thick that nothing penetrates anymore. Before we continue, please like and subscribe. Your support encourages us to keep producing videos like these. This is why the Spirit says today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. There's an urgency in heaven that most of us don't feel on earth. We think in decades. God thinks in moments. We plan for retirement. God plans for eternity. And the gap between those two timelines is where most people lose everything that actually matters. Consider the rich fool in Jesus' parable. His fields produced an abundant harvest, more than he could store. So he made plans. Bigger barns, early retirement, years of ease and pleasure stretching out before him. He went to sleep satisfied, certain that tomorrow would unfold exactly as he imagined. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your soul will be required of you. Then whose will those things be?" He wasn't warned about his death. He was warned about his life. about where he was storing his treasure, about what he was trusting in, about the God he was actually serving, himself. And the warning came too late for correction. It came only as explanation for what was about to happen. That's not the kind of warning you want. You want the kind that comes with time still on the clock. The kind that comes while the door is still open, while the ink is still wet, while the concrete hasn't fully set. You want the kind of warning that Jonah brought to Nineveh, 40 days, and then judgment. Nineveh had 40 days. You might not, but you have right now. You have this breath. You have this moment of clarity breaking through the fog of your busy, distracted, overstimulated life. Something led you here. Something made you stay. Something in you knows that what you're hearing isn't just content, it's confrontation. The question isn't whether God is speaking. He's always speaking, through circumstances and closed doors. Through the Bible you haven't opened in months. Through that friend who keeps saying what you don't want to hear. Through the ache in your chest that won't go away no matter how many distractions you throw at it. The question is whether you'll respond before responding is no longer an option. There's a story in the Gospels that should haunt us more than it does. 10 virgins waiting for a bridegroom. All of them had lamps. All of them looked ready. But 5 of them had no oil. And when the bridegroom was delayed, when the wait stretched longer than expected, their lamps went out. When the cry finally came, "The bridegroom is here," they scrambled. They begged the others for oil. They ran to find merchants in the middle of the night. But while they were gone, the bridegroom arrived. The door opened. The feast began, and then the door closed. When they finally returned and knocked, desperate and panicked, the voice from inside said 5 words that should echo in your mind until you do something about them. "I do not know you." They weren't strangers. They were bridesmaids. They were part of the wedding party. They had proximity to the truth. They had access to preparation. They just didn't take it seriously until it was too late. And now there was a door between them and everything they thought they'd be part of. You can know the right things and still miss everything. You can sit in churches, listen to sermons, read books, watch videos, and still be on the wrong side of the door when it matters. Because information isn't transformation. Agreement isn't alignment. And hearing isn't the same as heeding. The wise and foolish builders both heard the sermon. Only one restructured his life around it. The other nodded, felt inspired, maybe even took notes, and then built on sand anyway. Same words, same opportunity, opposite foundations. And when the storm came, the difference became devastatingly clear. What storm is coming for you? What pressure is about to test what you've actually built your life on? What's going to be exposed when the winds pick up and the floods rise? You might not know, but God does. And that's why he's warning you now. Not to shame you, not to condemn you, but to reposition you before the shaking starts. He warned Abraham to leave Ur before it was too late to start over. He warned Moses at the burning bush that deliverance required obedience. He warned David through Nathan the prophet that hidden sin doesn't stay hidden. It metastasizes until it destroys everything it touches. Every warning was an act of love disguised as disruption. And the ones who listened, they stepped into futures they couldn't have imagined. The ones who didn't, they became cautionary tales whispered across generations. Before we continue, please like and subscribe. Your support encourages us to keep producing videos like these. So what's it going to be for you? The thing God has put his finger on, the relationship, the habit, the compromise, the unforgiveness, the addiction, the lie you keep telling yourself. He's not pointing at it to torture you. He's pointing at it because it's the very thing blocking what he has for you next. The door isn't closed yet. The ink isn't dry. The story isn't written, but it's being written right now with every choice, every delay, every excuse, every not yet, and maybe later, and I'll deal with it when I'm ready. This is your burning bush. This is your handwriting on the wall. This is your Jonah moment. Not with 40 days, but with this one. Over 1,500 people went into the water that night. Not because there was no warning, because the warnings were ignored. God is not trying to catch you. He's trying to reach you. The discomfort you feel is grace. The thing he keeps putting his finger on is the very thing blocking what he has for you next. The door isn't closed yet, but it's closing. This is your moment. Not 40 days. Not tomorrow. This breath. This choice. Right now. Don't let the warning be the last thing you hear. Thank you for staying to the end. Watch out for the next video. Bye and God bless you.